Hi students, so let us discuss the new topic today, the new unit in our probability course, that is continuous random variables. So far whatever we have discussed about discrete random variables, and discrete and random variables are typically associated with probability mass functions, and based on probability mass function we can calculate the corresponding probabilities. So now it's time to go ahead and study continuous random variables. So what do I mean by continuous random variables is the first thing that we need to understand. So let us begin with an example, which is breaking a stick of a finite length. Given a stick of this form, if I want to break a stick of this length, then I can break it anywhere, and in this case I cannot associate the discrete values to this stick. Therefore I need to associate probabilities on the entire length of the stick. So let us say this is a stick of unit length, then and this the tip is 0 and the end is 1. So I am associating the entire length, that is on real line I am associating the interval 0 1 to this particular experiment. That kind of experiments are continuous experiments. Another example was we have seen in our elementary classes that if I want to hit a dart on a unit square, that is also an example, but that sample space doesn't belong to R2. So let us say that sample space belongs to R2, sorry, and we have to map a random variable in such a way that it should come on a real line. So let us say I have some sample space in R2 and I have defined a mapping from omega to R such that the event A is actually mapped onto interval A and B. So the event A, when you actually consider event A, the description of event A in this space is set of all x's such that it's set of all if I want to describe this event in the sample space, then I can describe it as set of all omegas such that x of omega is equal to x, where a is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to b. This is the description of event A in this sample space. Okay. So now if I want to associate, if had it been a discrete random variable, then our probabilities were very clear. For example, if it was a discrete random variable, what we would have done is we would have plotted this. Then in this interval there will be some finite number of points between A and B, and we would have given probability mass function associated with these points, right? And then we would have calculated the probabilities. This is our standard procedure, modus operandi, when we were dealing with discrete random variables. Now I need to describe this random variable, which is a continuous random variable. I need to uniformly split this probability mass across this continuum AB, across this interval AB, and therefore I will have some function of this form which will describe my replacement of probability mass function, right? So let us denote that replacement of probability mass function by fx or fx of x, let us say. So this is actually a replacement of probability mass function. Will it denote probability or not? We have to see. Now we need to answer a question something like this. Probability of this event A is very well defined in sample space omega. When I map it to this, I have a space which is of the form x from omega to r, and on this real line I am looking at the interval A to B. So I need to answer a question of this form. So how will I answer this question? I have a corresponding function fxx which describes something which is equivalent to probability mass function. Now This function should be uniformly described by this particular region. So what I will do is, in order to define this probability, I will define it in such a way that this will become an integral over a to b fx x dx, right? So this will become integral over a to b fx x dx. This particular function, we need to understand what it represents. So let us go further. If this particular thing is defining probability of this particular event a less than or equal to x less than or equal to b, and this is the density function that is given, then what this density function is doing is actually splitting the unit mass over this entire real line via this density function. So in particular, if I ask you a question, what is the probability that minus infinity is less than capital X is less than infinity, that should be answered by writing minus infinity to infinity fxx dx, if that is the case. But this essentially says that x belongs to real line. This is an event which says probability that x belongs to R. What is the probability of this event? 1. So naturally this particular function should satisfy this condition. Further, so naturally it will have this condition, f of x is equal to 1. Fine. Further, what can be the values of fxx? Are there any restrictions on fxx? So the first restriction that we will look at is when we compare with probability mass function, can this be less than or equal to 0? If it is less than or equal to 0 in this zone, let us say a to b, then what will be the value of probability? The value of probability is going to be negative. Therefore, this function cannot be greater than or equal, cannot be less than or equal to 0. So it should be greater than or equal to 0 for all x. Okay. So these are the two properties which are very similar to our PMF, probability mass function, when we were handling discrete case. In fact, we have derived by these properties by deriving analogy with PMF. So these are natural to expect. But the interesting property is, what is the probability of x is equal to x? Okay. So let us go by this definition. This is our definition. Let us say I have defined it this way. Then if I am asking what is the probability of x equal to x, then I can rewrite this as probability that small x less than or equal to capital X less than or equal to small x. What is the probability of this event? According to our notation which is given here, it will be integral from x to x fxx dx, or you can put this as a dummy variable t dt. Now what will be the probability of this? This will be equal to 0, right? Because there is no area under this curve. You are starting at the same point and you are ending at the same point. So there is no area covered under this curve. So this area is 0. Okay. So now we have some understanding about the newly defined function which we may call as probability density function. But let me give some justification for calling this as probability density function. Now we are actually split over the entire real line when we are describing the probability density, when we are describing fxx. So in order to justify this, let us take the simple principle which we learned while studying integration. Let us take a small interval of length epsilon. So the interval is x to x plus epsilon. Let us say we have taken a closed interval. It doesn't matter whether we take closed or open, because we have already proved that probability of x is equal to x is going to be 0. So it doesn't matter. So let us take this interval and ask a question, what is the probability of this interval? Now if this interval is really tiny, it's really tiny, let us say I have taken an interval here x and x plus epsilon. So what will I do is I will just go to my function fx, and I am asking you to find the area that is covered by this particular function in this particular zone. So in that case, as we studied in our theory of integration, I can simply start with a starting point and write the integral formula as, because the interval starts from x and ends at x plus epsilon, I will take the value of the function fx at x and I will multiply simply by the width of the interval, that is epsilon. Okay, so if I do this, then I can connect this to something which is called probability mass function. So let me do one more thing. As I cannot say epsilon is equal to 0, so epsilon will always be greater than 0 and epsilon is small enough. Then I can actually take this epsilon onto the other side, which is here, as I have written here, and I can split this probability into probability of x less than or equal to x plus epsilon minus probability of x less than or equal to x. Remember, the value at x do not matter, because probability of x is equal to x is going to be 0. So if I use this definition, that is f of x into epsilon, and take this epsilon to the denominator, that is what I have done here, and rewrite this probability, then what I am getting is the density function. So what is it? Now let us look at this terminology. So this is the probability mass, this particular quantity is the probability mass associated with an interval of length epsilon. Then we have divided this by epsilon, therefore it is probability mass per unit length. Correct? So this particular thing is probability mass per unit length. So if you recollect your notion of density, it is mass per area, mass per unit length, mass per unit area, all those things make sense now, and therefore the name of this fxx is density function, and because it is associated with probability, we will call it as probability density function and abbreviate this as PDF. Now is PDF a probability of that point? The answer is no. Therefore these PDFs can take values which are greater than 0. Then what does this PDF denote? The PDF actually denotes the rate of change of probability, because it is very clear from this particular formulation that it denotes the rate of change of probability. So your PDF is actually rate of change of probability at that particular point. It doesn't denote probability. Therefore when you consider a single point, probability of x equal to x is always going to be 0, whereas fxx may have a non-zero value, in fact a positive value, because of this property. This is a subtle but significant difference when you consider continuous random variables. Okay, so in general, if I have been given some reasonable set A, for some reasonable set A, if I want to compute probability of x belonging to A, then I should be able to compute probability of x belonging to A using my probability density function and integral over A. Let me make it very precise. What is a reasonable set for you? Reasonable set in the sense it will be in the form of interval or finite union or countable union of intervals or intersection of intervals, So in general, my probability, I can do everything, or I am in business when I talk about the probability density function, and I can compute whatever probabilities I need to compute in order to solve the problem whenever my set is reasonable. In the sense, it is either finite union or countable union of intervals, I should be able to compute these probabilities. So now is the time to go ahead and see what we can do with these probability mass functions and probability density functions. So now the problem is, if I have been given a probability mass function, I know the random variable is discrete, and I have to start with summations and deal with summations to solve the problems related to probability, related to discrete random variables. In a similar manner, if I have been told that the random variable is continuous, then I need to work with probability density functions. So the first question that came to probabilist's mind is, okay, if this is the case, is there any tool which I can use and deal with both of them in a single shot? We are lazy, so we are mathematicians, so we are lazy, so we want to handle it in a lazy way. So the answer to that question is given by cumulative distribution function. And when you study cumulative distribution function, you will be clear why something is called a discrete random variable and why something is called a continuous random variable, because this separation is because of cumulative distribution function. Let me be precise in that. So what is a cumulative distribution function? Cumulative distribution function is defined as fxx, capital Fx, which is actually denoting probability of capital X less than or equal to small x, and this is for all x, right? When you study continuous case, if the random variable is continuous, we have seen that it will be given by integral over minus infinity to x fxt dt, where fx, small fx, is the density, probability density function of the random variable x. If the random variable is discrete, that is x being discrete, then instead of integral I will put a summation, and pxt actually takes care of fxt dt, right? So this is a simple analogy, and with this particular tool you will be able to handle both discrete and continuous random variables together. So let us now visualize these cumulative distribution functions with some examples. Let us start with a continuous one. So now I have been given a uniform random variable in a continuous setup. So the random variable is continuous uniform on the interval a to b. This is the interval a to b, it is continuous uniform. So because it is uniform, that means everything is equally likely over here. In this zone, everything is equally likely. What do I mean? But you will say now that every point cannot be equally likely, because every point has probability 0. So what do I mean? Then you can take this interpretation. If I take a small interval of length delta over here, and if I take a small interval of length delta over here, the other part, then both of these intervals have equal probability of getting chosen. I hope I have made it clear. Okay, so now one thing, what is this fxx? So this you can use the condition that integral from minus infinity to infinity fxx dx should be equal to 1, and this particular thing is a constant. So let us say this constant is c. The question is, what is this c? So in this case you can easily understand that this c, if this integral is 1, then this c should be 1 upon b minus a for a less than or equal to x less than or equal to b. And if you don't want to lose any mark, you can be more precise 0 otherwise. Okay, so this is how I will describe the probability density function of a random variable x, which is continuous uniform random variable. Now let us consider the newly defined CDF for this fxx. What is this? Probability of x less than or equal to x. So naturally, how will you compute it? It is integral from minus infinity to infinity, minus infinity to x fxt dt. So just evaluate this integral for some x and you will get fxx to be equal to x minus a upon b minus a for a less than or equal to x less than or equal to b. Is that enough? No, because this fxx should be defined for all x. So I need to give a partition of this, and this is 0 before it starts with a. So x less than a, this is equal to 0. X is equal to b, it is, if you put b minus a by b minus a, it is 1, right? And after that it should remain 1. That means for x greater than b, this should be the value of this integral. This is a complete description of cumulative distribution function. So now we have understood this cumulative distribution function in the sense of continuous random variable. Now the name actually continuous actually comes from this CDF. If you look at this CDF, then this CDF is actually a continuous CDF. You can draw a line passing through this CDF without lifting your pen. So we have a continuous function which is CDF. So whenever I say continuous random variable, I mean continuous CDF, right? I am not referring to this particular definition of PDF. This is not referred to. What I need in order to represent this continuous function, I need something which is more smoother than this function, which if you learn mathematics you will know that this will be absolutely continuous, but fx can allow finite number of discontinuities. In this case the discontinuities are happening at a and b. So always remember, it's not the PDF that gives the name continuous, it's the CDF that gives the name continuous, cumulative distribution function. After this description, let us go to the next version of CDF, that is for discrete random variables. So I have taken a discrete uniform random distribution over 3 points. Very familiar to us. So everything will have a probability of 1 by 3 each. So once you have a probability of 1 by 3 each, how will you plot the cumulative distribution function for this random variable? So here the definition is very clear. My Pxx is equal to 1 by 3 for x equal to 1, 2 and 3 and 0 otherwise. That is a complete description of our PMF. Now let us come to cumulative distribution function. Remember here, because we have point masses associated with these random variables, at 1 there will be a sudden jump of size 1 by 3, correct? So when I draw a graph of this function up to this point, excluding the point 1, I will have a flat curve which is 0, flat line which is 0. At 1 suddenly this function jumps, and then at 2 what happens? There is another jump of size 1 by 3, but we are looking at probability of x less than or equal to x. So I will add to that jump. So at 2 you will not have a point here, but your point will start from here, right? Then at 3 also there is a jump, so I will not have any point here, but I will have a point here, and after that it rests in peace at 1, correct? So this is a typical graph of a distribution function, cumulative distribution function, when the random variable is discrete. Now from the graph itself you should be able, okay, let me write this for sake of completeness. This value is 2 by 3, this value is 1. So if I want to write the cumulative distribution function, I should be able to write it in this way: fxx is equal to 0 for x strictly less than 1, is equal to 1 by 3 for 1 less than or equal to x but strictly less than 2. Remember, here is the difference. When I am dealing with continuous, I am not much bothered about the less than or equal to or strictly less than. But when I am dealing with discrete random variables, I am very much bothered whether I am writing less than or equal to or strictly less than. Let this get extended further. This is 1 for x greater than or equal to 3. This is the complete description of our CDF. Now the distinguishing point, if you look at the graph of these two functions, the graph of a discrete random variable is always going to be of this form. There will be steps in between, where the right end point is always jumping. So here the point in the right is the starting point, but right end point there will not be any point, right? So you can see the holes here and it starts from there. Okay, so this brings us to some properties of this CDF. Okay, so let us list those properties of CDF over here. So what are the properties? The first property is, if you look at, because the CDF is defined over the entire real line, right? So fx of minus infinity, this always should be equal to 0. In a similar manner, you can ask a question, what is fx of infinity? It should always be equal to 1. Okay. Then, as the name suggests, it's a cumulative distribution function, so it cannot decrease. So this fx is right continuous function, continuous for all x belonging to R, right? Why I am saying right continuous function? You should think about it. If random variable x is continuous, then I am getting fx to be a continuous function, so naturally it will be a right continuous. But if I am talking about a discrete random variable, then the function cannot be continuous because there are jumps in between, and these jumps are jumps towards the right. Therefore, if you approach from right, you will get the starting point, but if you approach from left towards the right, then you may not get the end point. That is what I am showing with these holes over here. So therefore the function is going to be right continuous, and fx is a non-decreasing function. Why I am not saying it is an increasing function? Again, the reason being, you look at a discrete random variable. If you look at a discrete random variable, it stays flat where it is equal. All these are flat. So there it is not decreasing, but it is staying there. But if you look at these continuous random variables, it shows some increase and then stays flat. So on the safer side, I will say it is a non-decreasing function. So this is a property. So I have mentioned three properties. One, first, fx of minus infinity is going to be 0, fx of infinity is going to be 1, because fx of minus infinity says that probability of x less than minus infinity, which will always be 0, and fx of infinity says that probability of x less than infinity, which is the entire real line, therefore it will be 1. There is nothing new in this. Fx is right continuous because I am considering discrete random variables also, in general, when x is a continuous random variable, this will be a continuous function. Fx is non-decreasing function because by definition it's a cumulative distribution function. So these are the important properties of the cumulative distribution function. Now you can actually prove that if all these three properties are satisfied, then for any function which is given to you, if all these three properties are satisfied, then there exists a random variable x which has this CDF. This theorem is actually used in many contexts for studying simulation of random variables. So that is not the part of this subject, but as a side remark, you remember this, that if any function satisfies these properties, then there must exist a random variable which has CDF, cumulative distribution function, which is given by Fx.